This before we get going into instant activity or activity. Okay? And there's a number of exercises we can do with this. I'm not here to give you those specific exercises, just talk to you about the categories themselves, because there's a bunch of different things you can do. So we've got some mobility going in our back, in our hips. Next, what we're going to do is get into push-up position, ladies, like this. Okay, and just try to hold your back in a neutral spot. Okay, and then we're going to push our back up, and then torso back down. Up, torso back down. Okay, just get those shoulders going a little. Do 5 of those. And once you're done your 5, we'll stand up. Now we're just going to do, I think we call this Egyptian flips, where we're going like this. Head to the side. Okay, so these are just some examples. There's a lot of different things we can do in order to just get the body going before we jump into maybe something like this. Okay? And I think going through this as a player, these kind of exercises now a little different than maybe our ankle rolls that we all grew up doing and stuff like that, a little more things involving the hips, the shoulders, what's happening with our back. As a player, when I started to do this, it came in more consistently at the end of my career, and it really helped just get the body going ready for activity rather than jumping into activity cold. Okay, just firing things up, especially if you have early morning training. Okay, then from there, we can go into our chosen activity for warm-up. What I think is important, and this isn't groundbreaking, I'm sure many of you do this, is you need to consider what the theme or objective of your plan is and what you're going to do for your warm-up. So I kind of have 2 examples written up on our practice. On Thursday, we had a big serve-receive focus. So we started with just simply SLO, a two-person SLO. We'll jump into 1-person SLO, just to give an example, because we don't have enough for 2. So if we can have one of you in 5 over there, one of you at the net here, target here. Okay. Good. Do we have enough to do this? Actually, you know what? We'll go 2-person. We'll get more live passing. Let's put. You can go in 6 over there, and then you'll go in the setting position. Put you in 4 targeting, and then we'll have 2 of you at the baseline here. Okay, and then we'll have you waiting just behind in 6. So we'll have one of you, well, let's get in the court a little more. The first person is going to bowl a ball in. You can bowl the ball in. Sorry, what's your name? Alyssa. Alyssa will bowl the ball in. Okay, and what I want you to do is bowl this, try to bowl between these 2. Okay, and then you turn it down. Okay, I'm pretty loud. All right. What our cycle is going to be is whoever, it doesn't matter who passes the ball, you're going to go to setter, you'll go to target, and then you'll go touch the wall just to get some extra running in, and then you'll be next in line to bowl, and then you'll be in to pass. Okay, and then you'll be in 6, you'll be in 5. Go ahead. Oh, sorry, I meant bowl over the net. That's my fault. Bowl over the net, yeah. Okay, and then we rotate. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I imagine this drill everyone's probably done or seen before. The reason I've set them up into this is that this is our instant activity that we're going to get going before we do a dynamic stretch. After we do our activation. If we have enough, we want to create this drill going both ways. So we'd have a bowler on that side going this way. I think depending on your age level, it depends on what kind of activity you want to start with. So if you have a really serious group, you want to get a lot of stuff done, you can jump into something that's a little more game-centered like this. That will build towards maybe a serve-receive day. Now, if you have a group that you feel is a little lower in level, maybe needs a little more fun-driven exercises integrated into your practice, then we can switch things up into more problem-solving based and communication-type drills. Okay, so we're going to try something different here, ladies. Let's just catch the ball. Let's put 3 of you on that side, 4 of you on this side. Okay, so what we're going to do is you have to hold that ball. You have to hold that ball. Yeah, good. Sorry, yeah, Alyssa, you have to hold that ball. And then you're going to underhand serve this ball in. Okay? From the end line. Actually, no, we'll start with the bowl again. What we're going to do here is you have to communicate about this ball that you're holding. Someone who isn't holding that ball has to pass this serve. Okay? And if you go to pass the ball, you have to toss that ball to one of your teammates. Okay, and you're going to have 3 contacts, no jumping, no spiking. And you have to use at least 2 contacts to get the ball back over to them. And this is your guy's static ball that can't touch the ground. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Oh, just underhand. We'll start again. Here we go. Very good, very good. Okay, let's communicate on every ball. Okay, so hold on. No jumping now, and we have to use at least 2 contacts. So we had to jump there, so that would be a point for this side, right? Okay. So let's try serve from that side now. So just bowl it in to start. Oh. Okay. Okay, so that'd be point for this side. Let's stop. Point for this side. Okay, so that's 1-1, right? Okay, next point wins. Oh, okay, very good. Let's have a round of applause. So, as we went along in this game, once they understood the rules, we started to have a little problem solving going on. So some of the girls that would see the girl with the other girl on the side with the ball would go try to go towards that girl. I think you did that in one of the last rallies. If we can create drills like this that are going to force them into problem solving and figuring out games, that's going to be good for their volleyball IQ. The trick that we need to do is make sure that we don't sacrifice their safety when we do these kind of drills. So one drill I want to talk about is that's pretty classic for warm-up is Swedish Two Ball. Who's heard of this game? So I think, like for me, I would never do that with my athletes just because that's not a very game-like scenario, and it puts your athletes at a high risk having to go gameplay with another ball that might be coming. Whereas in this, we're thinking about positioning on our side, looking at who has a ball, looking at who has a ball on that side, forcing them to know what's happening beside you, forcing them to know what's going on the other side. Now it is, there are other balls involved that isn't totally realistic. But my main point is that you need to make sure when you create these games that you're not sacrificing athlete health for maybe a fun or problem-solving game. The other thing that I think when we create these games is don't underestimate the value of competition. I think we talk a lot about having athletes do fun things in warm-up, and we need to operationalize that term. Because a lot of times I hear people talk about having fun in volleyball practice being kind of joking around and taking things lightly. And that might work for some athletes, but you might miss the athlete that actually likes keeping score and finds that fun. So when you create these kind of fun drills and warm up, you have to make sure you know your team and who likes to compete. Okay? These examples of drills, I'm not giving you these just as, hey, these are your groundbreaking drills to use, but 2 examples of if you have a team that you're really trying to prep maybe for something, or you have a really serious team, then I think you should try to get into stuff where you're going to be getting realistic with your practice plan. So SLO that we did, normally you start with bowls, you can go into down balls, float serves from your athletes, if they have enough control, jump serves from your athletes, to make sure they're warming up properly, to go into a serve receive drill where you want them at close to max capacity to be using their shoulder, using their knees, using their hips. If it's a younger group that maybe needs a little more overall general ball control, then I think you need to find drills like this where you're really going to put stress on them to think outside the box, to gain awareness of those who are around them, the space that's around them. And there's a number of different drills that you can create that I'm sure you have. But kind of what I wanted to talk about was those 2 types of principles and those 2 types of groups that you're going to have. Okay? Next up is, after we do this, then we jump into a dynamic warm-up. I'm not going to go through the exercises that are involved. What I just want to bring up with dynamic warm-up is it depends who you talk to, which coach you talk to, whether they actually have their team do it or not. Some people like doing dynamic, some people don't. Our team at U of A does dynamic for all our warm-ups. There's some teams across the country and university that don't. They get into more activity-based warm-ups. And I think you need to, as a coach, decide for yourself if you want to follow what you think is best practice, if you want to do a little more research into evidence-based studies. But try to be critical. Try to decide for yourself what are these coaches doing, what are those coaches doing, what you think is best for your athletes. Okay? But we would put that dynamic into this time here, just because I believe in it and I want you guys to be warm. I'd like you guys to do a dynamic warm-up. Who has led one before here? You have? Okay. Why don't you start at the sideline there and walk the girls through it while I continue the presentation. Whoops. Okay, so next up, before I say we're focusing on a serve and receive day, then I would, for our ball control drill, I'd put us into a classic 2-sided serve receive drill. So we had servers down there, receivers here, servers down there, receivers there. Maybe it's a defense day. We want to focus on our block defense, then we're going to start with that fun drill maybe, or serious drill, whatever it is, being a little more defense driven. So maybe a dig set, maybe some Fukuhara, get the athletes low, get those hips going. But trying to base that instant activity time and your ball control time towards what you're going to be working on in the main part of your practice. So if it's a block defense day, your athletes are going to need to be ready to be playing defense, to be jumping on block. If it's a serve receive side out day, then your athletes are going to be needing to get some time getting ready to pass the ball and go through the reception phase. It's more than likely you're going to be doing both of those in a practice. You just need to decide what you're going to be spending more time on. Okay? And then as we get towards gameplay type drills, we get into what we're calling specific and speed work. So this would be like an attack warm-up, blocking reps at the net. Maybe you have a coach hitting off a box at blockers. If we're doing, whether for us at the U of A, or for I'm sure many club teams, if you're doing a gameplay type drill, most people are going through attack reps to get the shoulders ready, to get the jumps ready. What I would recommend also is make sure you're getting some block jumps in as well, because your athletes are going to need to be warm for those actions too. How are we doing? We almost done? Okay, great. Good. Okay. So I've purposely kind of gone through this phase a little quicker. So I want to get to talking about drill design, for concussion prevention, and we'll get our ladies into some drills. But before I get to that, does anyone have any questions about our warm-up phases and how we're going through our preparation? No? Okay, perfect. All right, so the rest of the time, I'm going to be talking about concussion prevention, including our protocol with Volleyball Alberta for setting up our attack warm-up. Incidents of removal from play due to concussion, incidents of concussion, these have increased. I don't have the actual study in front of me, but there's been a prevalence of concussions arising and incident of removal from play within volleyball. There's also been the diagnostic practices have been a lot more advanced in the last 10 to 15 years with concussions. So as coaches, we need to make sure we're doing things right in our practice to set up our players in normal drills where they're not at risk of getting hit in the head. Who uses the blue and yellow Mikasa with their teams right now? Anyone? Okay, there's some discussion and thought around that those balls have been more dangerous in causing concussions. There's research currently being done to see if it's definitive or not. But that ball has also been thought to maybe have increased the incidence of concussion, but it's still our international ball. It's used in university systems, so I think that's going to stick around for a while. And even more reason for us to make sure we're being careful whether it will be definitive or not that those balls are causing more concussions than balls like the Molten or the other types of Mikasas. So what we're gonna go with first is to continue kind of with our phases of serve receive here. What I want you ladies to do is let's pretend that this court is cut in half. Let's have 2 receivers on that side and a setter here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll have a server back there, a setter at the net here, 1 receiver here, and 1 server at the baseline here. Okay, so what I'm going to go through is just some standard drills that we probably all use in our practice plan and some do's and don'ts. So I want to pretend that we have full team here doing serve and receive. And what we're gonna have happening is you'll serve that way, you'll set the ball and just run and shag it. You'll serve that way, pass, you'll set the ball, you'll run and shag it. And we'll just keep doing that, alternating over and over, and just use the bin there when you need your next serve. Okay, so this side will start. Okay, pause, hold on. Okay, so do's and don'ts. Don't ever let a server serve if she's looking that way. Did we see that she was only looking that way? Okay, so first up, if you're receiving, I want you to make sure you see your receiver. Okay? So she's going to serve after she serves, and I'm going to make sure that she's alternating. So when you're waiting here for that serve, there's probably a serve coming here. So just make sure you're looking. Okay? And for you, if you ever see her back only, just say, hey, what is your name again, sir? Emma. Say, hey, Emma, move up a little, or Emma to the left. Okay? Okay, and then now you'll serve. You can just stay passing. Okay, pause. Oh, okay, you got it. Yeah, so I want you to make sure you see when she's serving, okay? Go ahead. Okay, we can just toss her the ball back. Go ahead. Okay, let's pause for a second. So in this drill setup, which we normally always do, is anyone here jump serve? Any of you ladies? Okay, so if we have jump servers going, it's extra important that our receivers here are paying attention because she's entering the court. Okay, so we have to make sure we see her. as a receiver. And as coaches, we have to make sure we're training our athletes to know to do that as soon as we get into this drill, so they're protecting themselves and we're empowering them to protect themselves. Okay, the other thing about this drill is normally, maybe not all the time, because it depends on how many coaches you have in your gym, but hands up if when you're doing this drill, you have someone here tossing an extra ball to your setter. We do this? Yeah? Okay, so let's have you serve. Okay, ladies, let's make sure we pay attention. Yep. Good. Okay, so this is a pretty normal practice type thing for us to do. Nice serve. Okay, but we have to make sure when we're tossing this ball that we know what's going on with this serve. Okay, so if I'm trying to get extra reps in for my setter, which I think is a really good thing to do, I have to make sure that she's aware or that I'm aware of this server. We have an athlete on our team that struggled with a lot of concussions, and he's in the setting position. And now when he's in this drill, he's always very aware of what's going on serve-wise. But you might not have athletes that are that aware, so you have to make sure you're being careful with this. And the reason I'm bringing this one up is it's a very normal thing that we like to do in serve and receive, and I think it's a good thing to get those, get those extra reps. We just have to make sure that we're not putting her in harm's way with this serve. Okay? Let's see a jump serve. Okay. Yeah, ball. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, try again. Let's come from that way. Okay, so simple things in a simple drill that we just need to remember. Make sure we don't have athletes serving at each other at the same time. That the receivers are aware of the server coming in, and that we're careful with our tosses to our setter. Nice serve. There you go. Okay, next up, we'll talk about, we'll do, yes. Okay, so let's have more receivers, everyone receiving on this side. All three receivers here. Okay, I'm just going to shag over here, you two girls serving. Okay, another important thing when we're in this type of drill, you guys are just going to serve as if someone's receiving over here, and I'll serve for these girls as if I'm a team serving down here. Yep, ball. Okay, and then we'll go next server. Could we get a couple just volunteer coaches to target for our setter in 4 and 2? Awesome. Go ahead. Okay, good. Way to look. Good. Ball. Okay. Good. So what I want to talk about here, in this drill, when we do this, and if we're doing a 5-minute warm-up during a match where we do hitting for 4 minutes and then serving for a minute, we have to watch our athletes in training and make sure they understand to never back up after they serve. Okay, so now what I want you guys to be thinking about after you serve is go forward and out. Never go back after a serve. Forward and out. Good. Ball. Ball. Okay, and the reason for this is that most of us need to utilize the gym space we have. We won't always have 2 courts to separate our team. We need to be able to run stuff on one drill, but we need to try to set that up safely. And there's 2 different types of action coming here. So our servers need to know to go forward, make sure they're talking with the receivers, and go out. Because if they back up, there could be another server coming in. Okay, and that server's they might only be looking at their toss, not at that server in front of them. Okay, let's see, just a couple more. Forward and out, good. Ball. Forward and out, good. Ball. All right. That's good. Okay, now still in this setup, give me 1 server and the other 2 girls up here. Actually, we'll just use, and then Emma just off. Okay, so you're our server now. And I want you to serve kind of from 6. Who here has players on their team that like to screen? Okay, a few. Who here tries to screen when they play? Anyone? You do? Okay. Who here? What's that? Screen, like you're trying to screen the other team when you're serving. So how would you set up a screen if you were trying to screen someone with your server right now? Do you know? I think you would try to be in front of your server a little. Okay? Now, this is against the rules, so you know, it's not allowed. Who has ever been called on a screen here? Anyone? Okay. Who has ever been in a game where a screen has happened and it hasn't been called? Okay. So screens, why I want to bring this up, I'm not saying you should screen or that you shouldn't screen. I'm not here to talk about that. If you do screen, don't ever screen and at the expense of your athlete's safety. So if you're set up to screen right there, you're going to be, let's go right in front of your server. So I can't see her. Oh, it's like she's disappeared. Okay? Now she's going to jump serve, like say she wants to jump serve. What happens with athletes when they get carried away with screening is they're trying to be a wall, and they forget there's a server back here. Okay? We've tried with our guys till no end to tell them never to sacrifice their base position, their head for a screen. And we had a concussion with it last year. Okay, that same setter. We had a guy screening in the back row who was from 5 going to 6 defensive position, going like this. Meanwhile, this guy tossed his spin serve and landed right on this guy looking that way. Wasn't aware of what was going on back here. So again, I'm not here to tell you to screen or to not screen, but never do it at the expense of athlete health and of a base position. So what I try to tell my athletes here is when you're at the net, you need to know what's going on the other side. Back row setter, front row setter, 2 hits, 3 hits, talking about shoulders on overpass. But then you need to make sure you see the server. Okay, so I want to see the server, see her serve, and then be in that position. Athletes that are at risk on your team that have had concussions, hands got to be here. Who was at the Bears match last night? Anyone? Okay, so we have a guy by the name of Tariq Sani that hits about 110 kilometers an hour spin serve, and he hit one of our middles in the head, who has a history of concussions. And that was how he missed a large part of our season last year from being hit in the head. Same scenario. So he got hit in the head yesterday, but he was like this. Okay? Protected, and he's fine. Because he's in this position. He's been trained to be in that position because he has a concussion. So that might not be every guy. He's really diligent with this. But the main thing is make sure that you're not sacrificing your athlete health for a screen, number 1, but 2, even for a base position. Let them make sure they see who's serving or that they're protecting when that person's serving. Okay? And then, yes, get on them in terms of their ready position, where they're starting their play at. All right, you ladies ready to do some attacking? Awesome. Okay. Do we need a couple minutes to get our arm warm? Yes, let's do that. Okay, let's throw the ball around or maybe hit against the wall. Any questions so far? Clear as mud? Awesome. Okay, so attack, warm up. If you have this book, let's turn to page 65 with protocol. There's a few options in here. I'm going to set up our girls into the way that I like to run attack warm-up, and a couple things to keep in mind are that there's several ways to do this. Never have an athlete shag their own ball, and as much as you can, don't have an athlete go under the net. And when athletes are shagging balls, do not have them in the opposing court. Okay? So if I could get a couple volunteer coaches to say, let's just toss 53s. Who feels that they're a good tosser here? Anyone? Jason? Yeah, here we go, boys. All right. Nice pants. Okay, let's, some more mirrors in here. Let's hit this way. Ladies, let's go on that side of the net. Okay, so what we're going to do here, there's a few options. As I said, one of the options is to go in intervals, so we would have girls shagging over there for a certain amount of time. Another one of the options is to have girls cycling. So what I'd like to do is have 3 of you girls down there shagging. Once you shag a ball, you're going to run over with your ball. Okay, you're not tossing a ball in. And you're just going to give it to one of the coaches who's going to toss a 53. So, big important things. Number 1, get outside that court. Get outside, behind the baseline, okay? Have our athletes not be in the court. Next thing is that you don't shag your ball after you hit, okay? You're going to come down, and you're going to go around this standard, around, not under, and then you're going to go behind. And when you go, you're not going to turn your head away from who's next, okay? Let's go. We can both go in both lines. Don't go under the net. Go around. Good. Go around. No, go around. Yep, that way. Jason, let's just back up a little so we're closer to the standard. Okay, let's pause for a sec. So, one of the things that we want to add, just to make things a little more game-like, is have them land in a block position. So after I hit, I'm going to be here, and then I'm going to go. Okay? Because that's what we should be doing in a continuous multi-action game. Now, let's get behind that baseline, ladies, when we're shagging. So now, after we hit, land, ready position, and then around the standard. Good? Yep. And then around the standard. Block position. Whoa. Yep. Block position. Okay, next thing I'm going to ask that you ladies think about. We got a lot of awkward landings happening right now. I want you to be mindful of how you land. Okay? 2 knees, stable with the arms, block position, go around. Land, yes. Block position, good. If this happens, we just want to encourage our athletes to be aware, or coaches, we can stop when that ball's in the middle of the court if she needs to get it. So with this type of warm-up, the things we're trying to really avoid are putting athletes at risk of getting hit in the head. And then I think to add on to this is if we get them thinking about getting into a block position, they're going to have to think a little more about their landing. Okay? 1 foot landing causes so much injury in athletes, especially in female athletes. So the more we can train them to be controlled and land on 2 feet, the better. Okay, and in controlled environments like a hitting warm-up, that's a great time for them to be thinking about it. The next thing is, if we have them doing that, then they can get a little more net awareness, line awareness, because if I hit and go under, this is a completely unrealistic action, especially at a young age. The only time that really happens is if you're good enough hitting a pipe, hits the ground, and then an athlete kind of goes under the net and around. Okay, a lot of times teams or we don't train, specific drills that give us line and net awareness. But if we have our athletes mindful of it and our coaches enforcing it, we're always training line and net awareness. And that can be in warm-up. Don't let athletes go under the net or over the line because you're not allowed to do that in a game. Okay? Go ahead. Ooh, shit. Okay, so that's good, very good. Nice job, coaches. Yeah, you guys can take a seat. So the next variation that I would want to add in here is put setters in, okay? And then have these girls pass to attack. Skill-wise, the more we can pass to attack, the better in warm-up. Okay, and how we would do that is have athletes bowling in from the end line, nice and high, okay, just to give our attackers that chance to pass, then attack in that rhythm. But what I wouldn't encourage you to do is do that 2 different ways, okay? So what I want to see set up here is a setter here on this side, and a setter here on this side, an attacker here, and then an attacker in 4 there, a girl bowling from one there, and a girl bowling from one there. So to economize space, this is a very common drill design for attack warm-up. So we bowl in, you pass, you set, you hit, and then you would go to that line. We're not actually going to do that right now. Another variation would be if you give her the ball, you toss to your setter, and she's just going to down ball or tip the ball to you, and then you go and hit. Who has done a variation of this warm-up before? I would recommend that you don't do this. Because what ends up happening is that if she doesn't dime this ball here, or if our timing isn't great over there, our setter could get pulled off, our setter could get pulled back, right in the line of fire. Okay, and then get hit in the head. Because they're not looking over here, right? They're looking here to make this set feeling attacker rhythm. So as much as you can, set it up on the same side. If you're fortunate enough to have 2 courts, then set it up on 2 courts. But I would really stress to not do these type of attack warm-up drills, okay? Because you put this athlete in danger. And we need to try to think of ways that we can keep our athletes safe in their attacking environments. Okay, I think I'm at almost my limit here, so I want to just spend the last 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions, I'll field those now. But I think we've been pretty good along the way, so I don't think so. Yes? So the question was, what's the recommendation for when you before a match, have to go through serving warm-up where you have athletes serving at each other. Okay, and what I recommend. I think it's a realistic part of the game. It can be dangerous. What I've always found to be the most effective is to empower and train your athletes to know about timing. Okay, so if you get 4 serves in that minute, then great, but 2 is probably good as well. Okay, 2 quality serves in that warm-up just to get feel before the match is good. So I always, as a player, like to get just 2, maybe 3 good serves with my full routine. Okay, feel out the line, take a look at the roof, but I'm not gonna be like exceptionally better if I get those 2 extra serves, especially if I rush through them. Okay, so get just like a couple of quality serves, get that bit of rhythm building, and the reason I'm bringing that up is they need to wait for the time to do that. So if serves are coming at them, if I'm getting ready to prep my serve, and Emma, you're serving as well, go ahead. Emma, you serve, go ahead. Okay, and I'm gonna do my routine. Go ahead. Oh, I see her. Okay, I'm going to stop. Okay. She's in 5. I'm going to start my routine. I'm good to go. Okay. Encourage them to learn about the timing that's going on the other side and to wait. That's what I would say. And you don't need to stress quantity over quality at that time because you're not going to get much out of it. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you have a good rest of your symposium. Thanks, ladies. Let's bring it in.
Big thanks to Brock. A couple of pieces we want to add on just to that is we are coming up with a new hitting warm-up video. We did the filming. We just have to do the editing. So it'll be up on our website, and we'll make sure it's advertised in our Volleywire and our communications so that you guys can view an updated version of that. Also on our Team Alberta website, or not website, our Team Alberta page on the Volleyball Alberta website, we also have some videos of activation and dynamic stretching programs and activities that you guys can do. And I'll forward you those links in follow-up emails, but just so that you're aware of that, that is on our website, and those are some videos that we've already produced and you can access. Perfect. So I think the next session is where